to the February 2024 Legacies and Lunch, a hybrid program of the CAL's Butler Center for Arkansas Studies. We all survived January. Yes, exactly, right? I am Heather Register Zavenden, the website coordinator and programs coordinator for the Bobby L. Roberts Library of Arkansas History and Art at the Central Arkansas Library System. Until December of 2024, possibly later, I gotta talk to Marta about that, we will be presenting Legacies and Lunch from this space. It is part of UA Little Rock. It's called UA Little Rock Downtown. And I always want to thank Marta and Emily for helping us with this, put on this program. I mean, and today that included printing me something, making me a sign-up sheet, and helping rearrange chairs. So they're always in for whatever I'm up to. If you want to sign up for our email list, if you don't already get emails from Roberts Library in particular, you can go to the table where the cookies are and sign up there. Please print for me, that would be very helpful. Or you can go to robertslibrary.org and sign up directly there. The parking gates are up, so I don't need to validate anybody's parking. That's another woohoo! Okay, please consider donating to the CALS Foundation in support of the programs of the Butler Center for Arkansas Studies and the Encyclopedia of Arkansas. You can go to robertslibrary.org or encyclopediaofarkansas.net to give a one-time or recurring monthly donation. Your support is greatly appreciated. We will spend your money well. Immediately following the program, we're going to have a little field trip. We're mixing things up for February. We're going to go, hopefully en masse, across the street to the Roberts Library to look at the new exhibition, Courtesy of the Collectors. That's the title, Courtesy of the Collectors. It's in our underground gallery, and so hopefully everybody will be able to join us for that quick opening. It's not really a reception, it's just an opening. And Colin will be leading, he's our Pied Piper today, so he'll be leading us across the street. So today's talk is being live streamed to YouTube, and it'll be available on CAL's YouTube channel immediately following the program. The panelists will answer questions from the audience here, as well as folks on Zoom. And if you're visiting in person or you're attending in person, please silence your cell phones. Okay, so now to today's program. We have a wonderful panel of speakers. They're all graduates of Horace Mann High School here in Little Rock. I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in just a minute, but I'm going to give you a brief, very brief, bit of information about Horace Mann for those of you that don't know. Horace Mann was built in 1955 by the Little Rock School District as the new all-black high school. Located at 24th and McAlmont Streets, southeast of downtown Little Rock, Horace Mann was built on a similar plan to Hall High School. I don't think it was exact, right? It was just similar. Hall was the new white high school on the west side of town. Both schools were part of the Little Rock School District's phased desegregation plan known as the Blossom Plan, which was formulated after the 1954 Supreme Court decision in Brown v. Board of Education. The Blossom Plan called for desegregation to begin in the fall of 1957 at Central. And I think we all know what happened there. We don't need to go back over that. And then it was supposed to filter down to the lower grades over the next 6 years. Under the plan, students would be permitted to transfer from any school where their race was in the minority, thus ensuring that black schools would remain racially segregated because many people believed that few, if any, white students would opt to attend predominantly black schools. Horace Mann, along with the other high schools in Little Rock, were closed by order of Governor Faubus in the 1958-59 school year to prevent further desegregation, thus ending the Blossom Plan. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda Stewart, who is the Butler Center's genealogy and local history specialist, and you're going to take it away. like you always do. There you go.
Thank you, Heather. We're old school, we got one mic, but we're gonna make this work. We're gonna pass around, we share. I am Rhonda Stewart. I am the Genealogy and Local History Specialist for the Central Arkansas Library System's Butler Center for Arkansas Studies, housed in the Bobby L. Roberts Library building. And yes, I say all the names because different people remember different portions of the name. So we get it all in there. This is actually the anniversary of my beginning. Thank you, Bobby, for hiring me. 19 years ago today, I started working for the library. And so thank you for that. But I'm especially thankful for today because when the idea came up, I'm like, I'm a Horace Mann student. I want to participate. So I get to interview these Horace Mann students, and I'm thankful for it. For those of you that don't know, I am from a family that has deep roots in the city of Little Rock. The Toombs family is my family. We've been here since 1895, stomping around Little Rock. Been in the state of Arkansas a little longer than that, but working at the library in the genealogy department, I get to connect other people to their family histories, and that's one of the greatest joys I've ever had. But at this moment, our focus is on Horace Mann, and thank you, Heather, for that introduction. A couple of things I'd like to say about Horace Mann. There are a lot of great people that came out of Horace Mann. Yes. A lot of them are sitting in this room right now. There are even more across the country, because we run the world and people don't know it. And I mean, we, the state of Arkansas, our greatest export has been our people. They've gone all over the world and done great things. And many of those people came out of the state, the high school of Horace Mann. But at this moment, I'm gonna start on my right and have them each introduce themselves. I'm asking you what's your name and also what class you graduated from.
Good morning, thank you. I'm Faye Perry Russ, Horace Mann graduate 1961.
Warren McMullen, born, reared, educated in Little Rock, attended the public schools of Gibbs Elementary, Dunbar, when it was a high school, and also Dunbar High, and class of 1962, graduate Horace Mann.
I'm Sterling Ingram. I'm in the class. I graduated from the class of 1962.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Richardson Gilbert, and I did not graduate from Horace Mann High School. That may sound funny, but it was a great thing. The schools closed as a high school, and our class was split up into the 4 other high schools in Little Rock. So I went to Horace Mann in the 10th and 11th. Our class is referred to as the Horace Mann Transitional Class of 1972, the best ever.
Correct there. I am Deborah Springer Sutler, and I am a graduate of Horace Mann, the last class to graduate, 1971. Thank you.
I appreciate the variety of students up here, and I'm thankful for it. One of the things I want to start off with, because all of us have favorite teachers, and I want to know who were some of the teachers, coaches, or office workers who bring a smile to your face even today. We'll start with you, Deborah. This is going to be interesting.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. I got put off the drill team for organizing a boycott. So I'm going to say my favorite teacher is Sterling Ingram. Because he was the band director, and he told me that once I got put off the drill team that I could be a majorette. But unfortunately, the principal, Mr. Edward Hawkins, said, you can't be on anything. So my life story is Mr. Ingram was going to save me. But he did.
Okay, teachers. This is a hard question because we had wonderful teachers, and Horace Mann was packed with just amazing. And if I was politically correct, I'd say Sterling Ingram, but I never worked with Sterling Ingram, so I can't say that. But I'll talk about people that I thought was really, really good. I hated science, but one of my favorite teachers was Miss Willie Johnson. She was a science teacher. She taught us how to check our blood type, and I thought that was really cool. And there were many others. Coach Elders was, of course, not my teacher either. And But I was a captain of the cheerleaders in the 11th grade, and he made sure we made it to the games to cheer the guys on. And he was just so special, so wonderful, and meant a lot to us. Because otherwise we probably wouldn't have been able to make it to the games, especially those out of town, in a good number. So those are the two. There are many others. And I do want to give a special shout out to Miss Pettigrew. She was a transport. She was a white teacher that taught math. And I guess we were kind of afraid of those teachers, but Miss Pettigrew was a really, really good teacher, I thought. And I was glad that she was in our faculty, one of the faculty members for us. And this is Sterling Ingram. And Sterling Ingram has saved a many a person.
Okay. Omaha. Mrs.
yes.
Harper was an English teacher. She taught me how to write. And when I went to college, I could write. And I'm very thankful for that. And then I have two others, Leon Adams and Alan White. Leon Adams was the band director at Horace Mann when I was in the 9th grade at Dunbar. And he allowed me to play with the Horace Mann band at graduation as a 9th grader. And I was very thankful for that. And Alan White was the band director while I was at Horace Mann. And I became a music teacher because of those two young people. I am where I am today really because of their influence.
My mother was a school teacher, retired as a school teacher, so I really like all teachers, per se. But my favorite teacher was Art Porter, who was the choir director at Horace Mann. Ms. Calloway was the choir director at Dunbar. I was in the choir for 3 years there and participated in quite a few operettas and things of that nature. Got to be on stage, which was something I like to do. I had a proclivity for the spoken word and maybe spotlight as well. So I would say that Art Porter was my favorite teacher, who taught me that you don't have to be a soloist, but you can harmonize if you just.
And my favorite, I had several really, really favorites, but my number one favorite was Miss Maud Woods.
Yeah.
She, math, she was just right there. I just love Miss Woods, and I still do. She's the alumni advisor, and I've been able to reach her for several months now, but she's always been there for me from high school until now. Also, I loved home ec. So at Dunbar, Mrs. Works was my favorite teacher. It taught me how to sew, and I still have that. That's still a hobby of mine, to sew.
May I just also add, Miss Woods, who came here to Little Rock as a student, was also a librarian at the Ivy Branch Library, which is located on 16th and Martin Luther King. She was assistant to Miss Smith, who I was there just about every day or every other day because it's like going to the babysitter. And she taught me how to find things in the encyclopedia, read, while I was in the 3rd grade. And I just wanted to give her a shout out as well. But she wasn't teaching at Horace Mann when I was there. I think she was in the office. Maud Webster Wood was indeed one of her favorites because I still try to contact her. Thank you.
And I too see Miss Woods on a regular basis. I hadn't seen her in a couple of months, but she's still around the city. She's in her 90s, and she's still an inspiration to many people. My next question, because I'm switching up a little bit. Where did you live while attending Horace Mann, and who were some of your neighbors?
I lived at the time was West Little Rock. Well, we call it the West End. It was about 8 blocks east of what is now University Avenue, and 2 blocks south of the Madison Black, Deaf, and Blind School. My neighbor, Sterling Ingram, I can remember Sterling, we started first grade together, Sterling and I. I remember him into music back when we were in elementary school. Our houses were back to an alley separated our houses, and I can remember Sterling marching as if he was in a band back when he was in elementary school. His cousin, Odell Schaefer, was older than him, and Odell was in the band. And in my mind, Sterling was going to be just like Odell, going to be in that band and in music and all. But also living 2 blocks from the Black, Deaf, and Blind School, that was my weekend. Going, being with the hearing and visually impaired students there. I learned how to sign, even though when you don't use it, you lose it. But those were some good times for me, just spending time with those students there on the campus on the weekends.
I moved to the historic Dunbar neighborhood in 1948 from West 9th Street and Alaska. I lived in the 1500 block, which was full of important people. Attorney Booker lived on the northwest corner of 16th and Cross. Sue Cowan Williams lived next door to him. We were on the next street over, separated by an alley. 2 doors from Miss Vivian Hegwood, who was one of the most beautiful teachers I've ever seen in my life. Her hair never was out of place. She was impeccable in her dress. I stayed on Pulaski. Ernest Green lived on Pulaski. Mel Patilla lived on Cross. I'm right between Pulaski and Cross. Then my mother, she had lived on Chester, 2 blocks up. It was a neighborhood where everybody knew everybody. We were only 3 blocks from the Dunbar Community Center, which originally was a hospital. The Inner Hospital was on one corner. My grandparents' grocery store was on the other. All of that was taken away for urban renewal, and they built the New Gibbs Elementary School. So that's the neighborhood I grew up in, and that's like 2 blocks from Arkansas Baptist College. So I was always surrounded by a lot of teachers, those in the education field, as well as the students.
I don't know if I can add anything to Faye's commentary, but I would like to reinforce the experience with the hearing impaired and the blind students there. Like her, I learned to sign and you lose it, but it was those relationships that I think I kept for a long time. It's kind of empathy for persons who had hearing problems and vision problems. And to this day, I still have a friend from that experience. His name is Charlie Blackman, and I still see him often. The other thing is, we walked to elementary school from that neighborhood to Stevens School.
Wow.
And that was our track every day
1 mile.
to school. I don't know how far it was.
Yeah, 16
She knows everything. Now, Meg is a historian. She keeps up with every single thing. If she says it's a mile, it's a mile. And I trust her that it's a mile. But we would walk to school and you're back each day, regardless of the weather.
Yes.
And for some reason, I don't remember schools closing when the weather was bad.
Okay. I came from the neighborhood of Granite Heights, which is right there by Granite Mountain, so it's 2 neighborhoods, and I felt like I came from one neighborhood. So the teachers and the administrators in the area were quite a few. our principal, Mr. Hawkins, Edwin L. Hawkins, the vice principal, Willie Thompson was there. There were teachers, Miss Letty Nelson that got Debbie suspended, and let's see, who else was there? Mr. Muldrew was there, and then we had Coach Swinton was also there in the neighborhood. Let's see, what was it? Is that it? That's a question you asked? Oh, and I do want to say too, since everybody's giving Mr. Ingram his props, he went to Tennessee State University, and he was out there marching and carrying on, and out there in the open space, and I thought that was really cool. So I chose Tennessee State. I was probably a much better student than him. I went to Tennessee State too, so I just wanted to, I had forgotten about that. He used to march up and down, and he was full of himself, but it was all right.
When is this gonna end?
I grew up in the same community as Brenda. My parents moved to Granite Mountain area from El Dorado, Arkansas, and came to Little Rock, and we moved to Granite Mountain because of my grandfather, Horace Springer, who was an African Methodist Episcopal minister. And my family, as a result, decided to open up a store in that area for the community because my father said, we need to serve our people. That's where I get my activism from, my grandfather Horace and my own father. But we grew up in a very good community. The Shacklefords were there, Miss Shackelford can attest to that. And Brenda and I became best friends at the age of 5.
No, I was 4.
When she was But anyway, her brother broke us up fighting. And once that was over, we became friends for the rest of our lives and attended school almost all our lives, historically Black schools from elementary up until high school. And then Brenda went off to Tennessee State and I went to the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. So that's my story.
That was my next question. What schools did you attend after Horace Mann, if any? And what did you credit your parents for giving you that provided you the foundation for doing what you have done in this lifetime?
Good question. I came from a very active family in terms of social justice and equality. Like I said, my grandfather was an African Methodist Episcopal pastor. That's the same faith in which I practice today. As you know, that section of faith derived from Richard Allen, who was denied the opportunity to pray at the altar, and as a result, African Americans moved from that church and developed their own. But I have always been taught that no human deserves to be mistreated because of color, race, creed, nationality. When we were serving in my father's store, he always used to tell me, these people help me feed you, the people who come to our place of business. And I was the one who always worked there. Some of my brothers and sisters didn't always want to do that type of work, serving, cleaning, cooking. But I worked a lot with my father and his brothers, Worthy, Paul, George. They all worked up there, and I used to hear their stories about being mistreated, and it just broke my heart. And then I realized it wasn't just them, but it's something you can do about it. So I've always wanted to work in an area where I could uplift the believers of Jesus Christ, that every human deserves to be treated equal, and there are no illegal humans. God did not make people to be illegal or discriminated against. That's my story.
Okay, so Debbie mentioned that she and I are best friends. We grew up together, and you could tell by her speech that I ended up in a lot of trouble. Following her, trying to co-sign for her. She's out there marching, fist ball. It was traumatic for me. I still hadn't gotten over it. But I do want to say something about our parents. I appreciate the question, because my father and my mother taught us to be not by words as much as but by example, to be very involved in the community. My father was a postman in the Heights. I think he thought he was great because he was in the Heights and it gave him a bunch of gifts and stuff, but he was the PTA president for like 20 years because they had a whole bunch of children. I don't know why, but all the way through, I mean, I'm down at the bottom, but Daddy was principal. And when he got done, after 20 years, my mother started being the president of the PTA following their children. So from elementary to junior high to high school, that's what they taught us, to care about the community, care about the people in the community, get an education. My dad was big on education. And they were also good on a spiritual life. So I learned that, and to this day, I still carry those mantles in my heart. I went to Tennessee State, as I mentioned, in Nashville, Tennessee, same class as Oprah Winfrey. And I didn't go quite as far as she did, but my parents were amazing. And I will say this, my brother, John Richardson, was the first African-American to play football on a scholarship from the University of Arkansas. And while it was like a celebrity type home, it turned out to be rather traumatic, the results in the end, because it took a toll on my brother. And my parents were not aware of that. I think they got caught up, maybe not, but I kind of thought they got caught up in the celebrity of it. And so it was tough for him. And we didn't realize that till years and years later when he stopped coming by to see my parents. And of course, he was 50 years old, he died from a heart attack. But he wanted to give back, and he got that from my parents. It just cost more than what we thought it was gonna cost. I think that was the situation. And so I'm still grateful for the fact that he was willing to sacrifice himself in such a way. And so it was okay, because so many more people were touched, their lives were enhanced, they got more opportunities, and I'm grateful for that. So that's what I have to say about my parents. They were phenomenal. Not perfect people, but they were hardworking and caring, and they loved education. And I'll say this, my mama would sit at the table, the dining room table, with a 5,000-piece puzzle and put it together in like 3 days. And I was so impressed. I can't do that. I could take 30 days and couldn't get 3 pieces together. But they showed us the way. And so for that, I am extremely, extremely grateful. And I do want to say my sister was a National Merit finalist. And she got full scholarship from Texaco, or one of those gas companies, to go to any school she wanted to. And my parents had to make that happen as well, prepare her. So they were very, very instrumental in our lives. And now you will have the drum major, Mr. Sterling Ingram.
We all have dreams. And I mentioned Leon Adams and Alan White earlier. They were both graduates of Tennessee State. When I graduated from Horace Mann in '62, I had a full scholarship to A&M College for music. I had a partial scholarship to Tennessee State in Nashville. I told my parents I wanted to go there. I have no idea how they did this, but my father was a shipping clerk. My mother was at home, but they provided the opportunity for me to make that trip. It was on the train. I stopped in Memphis with my aunt overnight so I could catch the connection the next day to get to Nashville, where I knew absolutely no one. There was a lady, a student there, Brenda Cleescale. She was older than I was, but I didn't really know her. So I was there in the summer at band rehearsal alone. How my parents did that, I have no earthly idea how they financed it. But they did. And about Art Porter Senior, I'm glad you brought him up. You know, when you go to college, they have all these entrance exams for you, kind of things to kind of place you in classes and all that. Well, in music, the big thing is music theory. You have to be placed in music theory. And if you don't have what it takes, they put you in a remedial course. Now, and at Horace Mann, Art Porter had a class called Music, Advanced Music. But in that class, he taught harmony, how to construct and break down harmony, how to write it, and bless my soul. When I got there and took that exam, I blew it out. Only 2 other students were able to pass that exam, which allowed me to graduate in 4 years with my degree. And I am thankful for that experience at Horace Mann that allowed me to do that.
I'm gonna be candid. I went to school after high school, after I'd gotten out of the United States Air Force. But unfortunately, I just went for government checks. Being candid. I was reared in a single family household. 2 siblings. Single mom, but she was separated from my dad, who was in Chicago. My parents told her it was too fast up there. We would come back down in Little Rock and we'll send you to school. Her father was a postman, well-respected postman. Was a member of the Civil Service Commission as well. He sent 5 girls, he had 5 daughters, sent them all to college. We're in the family. Her cousin married one of my cousins. They were all in education. Most of the women in my family were in education as teachers, what have you. My mother sort of had it hard. She went to college with 3 children. We were babysitted by the folks at Philander. She didn't get her master's until she was going to school with kids that I went to school with. They said, well, your mama sure is smart. You know, she had to go to Baptist, get it validated down in Clark County at Washita Baptist, if I'm not mistaken, years later. But to make a long story short, 2 years she taught in the country. First one in DeShay County in Arkansas City, Arkansas, the home of John Johnson, the publisher of Ebony. And the next year, which was 1955 in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, the same year that Emmett Till was killed. That was the year I was in the 7th grade. Year you in the 7th grade. Year you in the 7th grade. I spent my 7th grade year hoping nobody would lynch me. It was very traumatic. I'll never forget it, but you can't forget it. I still suffer from that. But I was in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, which is an all-black town. The entire horizon was orange in color like that shirt. The Klan had came up to the boundary of the town and burned it out because a doctor there, Dr. Howard, was the president of the NAACP. He was reportedly the richest black man in Mississippi. He had to get out of town. And he was helped by Attorney Flowers in Pine Bluff. Guy used to be a judge here, and those fellows sort of helped him get on the Steel Underground Railroad and make it out from that situation. I don't know if he ever returned to Mississippi or not. Google it, it's all chronicled. So I spent those 2 years, formative years, pardon me?
They can hear you good.
Okay. I spent those 2 formative years forgetting about an education and just trying to figure out how to survive and develop some skills that might help me throughout the rest of my journey in life. And then I came back to Little Rock after that year in Mississippi. And darn if the next 2 years after that, Faubus closed the schools, and I was out of school for an entire year thinking I was grown, etc., developing certain types of habits and things, not continue with my education. I thought I could cope academically with my peers and grown folks too. And so I never really developed a propensity of a likelihood to go back to school. I just sort of like dropped out. But my mother worked real hard. She was like, she had 3 state board certified positions. She was a cosmetologist, she was a nurse, and she was also a school teacher. She taught school during the daytime, was a nurse from 11 to 7 at the Old Baptist Hospital when it was segregated. And on weekends and summer, she quote unquote fixed hair. She had a 2-booth beauty shop, and my siblings and I, we helped her throughout this experience. You know, she had tests or whatever, we would read her books and do whatever we needed to do and help her along the way. And that was our education, formally and informally, because we were reading books on the college level, speaking French before I even got French classes in school, and doing things that were necessary to prepare ourselves. That was my educational experience. I sort of regret it because I never went to college to matriculate. Like I said, I went for government checks. And that's my explanation of where I'm at today. But I'm 79, so it doesn't really matter now. I'm thankful to be here under the conditions I'm here under. And the experience at Horace Mann was like a community that was together. You did everything together. I mean, the teachers loved you, even the ones that didn't like you. You had Joe Elson and people like that. You had Edwin Hawkins, who was the principal. You know, they loved and didn't love you. But you had somebody that was in there in the office with them that said, that's so-and-so, give so-and-so a chance. You know, there was always somebody to correct the ones at the top for whatever. Mr. Hawkins put folks out of school that turned out to be principals and things like that. So that it was a lovely experience, but then it was a challenging experience.
Okay, well, I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and the one next to me, I'm 4.5 years older than the one next to me. So I was an only child for 4.5 years. My daddy went into the military, World War II, 9 days before I was born. I was not aware of this until my son was doing some research at the Little Rock National Cemetery and found my father's gravesite. And he immediately called me, he's like, Mom, I'm researching Puddin'. That's what called my dad. I'm researching Puddin'. Did you know Puddin' was not with Mimi when you were born? I said, no, I didn't know that. Well, Mama, has Mimi ever talked about that? No. Anyway, my mother, I was an only child for 4.5 years. My daddy came back honorable discharge after being in the military 2 years. And he came back with live bullets. And came back in 46. August 47, my sister next to me was born. November 48, my brother was born. August 49, my twin sisters were born premature. So there, in 2.5 years, I was now the oldest of 5 siblings. Well, my mother and grandmother was taking care of those, what I call the babies. So I had to figure things out on my own in elementary school and junior high school and high school. And I just kind of, my mother became a domestic worker. And, you know, I was an A student from the time we got grades, started getting grades at Stevens Elementary School until the year that the high schools were closed, and I was going to the 10th grade. A student, honor society, all of that. I have certificates of perfect attendance. Like Sterling said, we never missed school. We went to school snow knee deep. We walked to school. It was just something, it was never anything that school is closed because of the weather. But in the 12th
I went to Pulaski OTEC, Pulaski County Training School in the 10th grade. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to school in the 10th grade. When the Little Rock high schools were closed, in the 11th grade, back to Horace Mann, and I saw that my mother struggling, trying to make things work for my younger siblings, and I felt like I needed a job. I was in school and I just didn't have that. After that year of the schools closing, I lost my will as far as keeping the grades up and all. So I got a job after school, working, passing trays at what was then Central Baptist Hospital in the afternoons after school. And that brought in some money. Then after that, got graduated, then I was offered a full-time job at Children's Hospital in the dietary department. I liked that, and that's when I developed an interest for healthcare after passing trays at Children's Hospital. I thought, okay, maybe this is what I need to do. And then I began researching and realized just on my own that after doing research that there was an LPN School of Nursing, Little Rock School District, LPN School of Nursing in our research. And I applied and I enrolled in the LPN School of Nursing. And that's how my healthcare career began, trying to help my mother and trying to make sure I paid for my education.
I'll keep it. I have a question I have to ask because, again, I was a student at Horace Mann in the junior high area, and we always had jokes and commentary about Fraternal Cemetery. So what is something you remember about Fraternal Cemetery?
I just remember looking out the home ec window and seeing all of the great headstones there. And seeing they were just almost right there at the window of the, but as far as me knowing anything about it, I just didn't really know the history of Fraternal Cemetery back then.
I just knew that I had uncles buried there, but I didn't know any type of history for
I don't know anything about it. All I heard was that Horace Mann was built on a cemetery, that's all I heard.
Is that true? You built on a cemetery?
Finish this up and I'll explain that.
Well, I don't want to, because I don't know what's going on. I didn't think that's what it was.
Hold on, let me straighten this out. Okay, Horace Mann, that property is built on what was part of the cemetery. The cemetery stretch, Fraternal Cemetery, stretched from 21st and Barber Street to Roosevelt Road. Horace Mann, Kroger, and all those businesses sit on part of the cemetery. Supposedly, there were not people buried on that part. The school district bought that section of land and when they started building. But it was originally the cemetery, and during the Great Depression, that was the end of the cemetery where they grew crops. They kept the black community fed during the Great Depression. Had you heard anything else?
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
Well, no, I mean, I'm feeling pretty stupid up here. I didn't know.
I don't feel stupid. Come to the library, we'll show you all kinds of stuff.
Do you have another question?
You have another question? I do. What rivalry was prominent in extracurricular activities, or what did you do as extracurricular activities? And what schools were you having rivals with? Were you rivals with? I know it was Jones was one, but was there anybody else? Because y'all had competitions.
When I can remember, my older brothers and sisters, it was 9 of us, and the first 3 had the rivalry with the Dragons, North Little Rock. Jones, but they were the Dragons. And then, when I got to school, the rivalry was Central High School. I mean, we hated Central. It was a passion. And then my sister dated Fred Allen's brother and got married, and then I had to like Central. But actually, that was the rivalry, and it was a big one. But I tell you, the most fun we had was going with my older brothers and sisters with those games with Horace Mann and Jones High School.
Yes.
People, that was the most wonderful experience that I ever had in my life, watching that rivalry and people dressed up. I mean, it was the Black community's activity that everybody learned that. But it was Central High School, and Rivers too.
Yeah.
Oh. I know, she figured her story is my story. Yeah, so the rivalry of, as Deborah has said, was with Central High School. I was a cheerleader. I mean, all out, everything I had was about being a cheerleader. So I took to heart when we would lose to them. It was just something you know, it was just heartbreaking. But I did get a lot of joy when we had our wonderful basketball team and we played Central. We had Big Mo Scarborough from New York or wherever he was from. They said he was 24 years old and tried to get him disqualified. He was probably the biggest guy in high school at that time. And so that was a wonderful, watching those games, we won a lot, but we played Central, we were supposed to win, and we didn't. And so that was heartbreaking. I haven't gotten over it yet. And as Deborah said, we hated Central. It's hard for me to even go over there to this day. It's terrible to feel that way, you know, about a school. Oh, you did too? Okay, you understand? You hated them too? Okay, well, he didn't like y'all either. But anyway, you know, as you get older, you realize that stuff is kind of silly. And it's fun and it's entertaining, but you grow past all of that. And I said, we still hate Central. And I kind of do, but I do try not to be serious about that. I don't have Central friends, I make that a point. But I will say, being a cheerleader was more than just being a cheerleader at Horace Mann. It was about, it was more about, I guess, trying to carry the word, the legend of what a great school we attended. We didn't win everything, but in our hearts, we were Trojans, and we believed we were Bearcats, but we believed in being our best. Those teachers taught us that, the administrators, our parents taught us that. So we would go out with the best we could on the field and even in the classroom and everywhere. We wanted to show people that Horace Mann was incredible. Purple and gold all the way, right, Deborah?
That's right.
All the way. Okay, so here's Sterling.
She's about to wear Central out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's see. Of course, Jones High School, Merle High School in Pine Bluff, and Hot Springs.
Langston.
Langston and Hot Springs. They were pretty intense rivalries during those days. But the best thing was always Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day. That's when Jones and Horace Mann would meet. And it was a sight to see.
Yeah.
On that day. I missed Thanksgiving games. I mean, I missed it. And when I came back to Little Rock and Mr. Hawkins brought me back as the music teacher at Horace Mann, kind of miss having that fight and rivalry.
Yeah.
Because it's something about those rivalries that builds school spirit. They build school spirit on both sides. And that's something you carry with you forever. Bearcat to the day I die.
That's right. Go Bearcats. Woo!
There was a Bearcat tradition that produced All-Americans like Sidney Williams, University of Wisconsin, couldn't attend the University of Arkansas. Jim Pace, All-American University of Michigan, couldn't attend University of Arkansas. There was also Bobby Mitchell from Langston. That was a rival. They used to run that 100-yard dash in record time. He complimented Jim Brown in their domination, if you will, of the running back era. Those rivalries predated my graduation. But we had a team that didn't lose a game. A team of 1962. You hear about Jimmy Johnson and what's the guy named on Dallas Cowboys? Jerry Jones. They couldn't touch us. But we didn't get a chance to compete against them. But we didn't lose a game, and we had the record holders, Gerald Russell, Kimbrough, Butler Rouse. His son went on to be All-American. Well, no, he went on to be he went on to the Professional Football League. So did Gerald Russell's son. He went to the Professional Football League. So it sort of skipped over our era, but we had tremendous rivalries. I mean, just like I said, all these guys were like, some of them could have competed on the international track level of Olympians, because we used to play Jones for Turkey Day, and they tell me Raymond Boswell could shoot like a bullet, and he had competed on the Olympian level. I don't know if he ever got a chance to go all the way, but these were the type of competitions that we had during those days, and they were the best. And like I said, I don't believe anybody could have beat the team that didn't lose a game. And to my knowledge, I don't think they've done anything like that since that. That's a pretty good accomplishment for a team in Arkansas. Thank you.
The rivalry I remember is Thanksgiving Day football game. We would dress up better than, I mean, we would work, I would work, babysit, like I don't know what, to buy fabric to make my get up outfit to wear to the game. That was it. Every year, one year we would play in North Little Rock, and then the next year would be at Quigley Stadium in Little Rock. But that Turkey Day was it for us. I just wish that our kids could experience now what we experienced then.
Right, we get close to question time. But one other thing I wanted to say about Horace Mann, there are a lot of great people that come out of Horace Mann. Horace Mann is known for its greatness, but also what the current system of Horace Mann in the school district. One thing I believe is Horace Mann will never shut down as a school, and one of the reasons for that is a little Arkansas trivia. Chelsea Clinton is the reason Horace Mann will never shut down as a school, because that's the last public school she attended. So, for those of you that don't believe me when I say Arkansas runs the world, that's another example. We run the world and they don't know it yet.
Give them a round of applause. Fabulous, guys, really.
Yes.
And I just always think so I feel 17 inside. I don't know about the rest of y'all. But I always find it fascinating when elders get together that we're 17 together and they start acting like 17 again, right? Like, there's no age up here.
Yes, really. 21 in 2 days.
Before we get started again,
Yeah.
let me just say one thing. Like I said, Horace Mann has had a lot of great graduates. They're all over the world doing great things. But one thing for the city of Little Rock, we have a Horace Mann graduate in the classroom today. That was the first female mayor of the city of Little Rock. And I'd just like to ask if she has something to say.
Well, first I wanted to say, I'm just like, so excited, and I could hear for hours more. Each of you reminded us all of those teenage years, and I can just visualize myself sitting there in a classroom at Horace Mann High School right now, and or Dunbar High School now. And I want to thank you all for the way you shared your stories, and you didn't hold back from us and all, and that was just great. I had a story for every story you all told. I could relate to something personally, something I experienced, because, and a part of it was the sign of the times. We didn't have all of these distractions. You didn't have these smartphones and the TVs and all of that. Talking about going to school, whatever the weather, well, you weren't being bused anywhere, you know. So even on the sunny day you were walking, so on the rainy day you walked, but you didn't have to worry about sliding off into another car because you were on feet anyway. So I just hope we have more of these, and not just at Black History Month, because I kept thinking the stories to be told so that people could get a true reflection of what was going on back then. I was a senior in high school during the 57-58 Central High integration crisis. Ernie Green was a member of our class. Deborah talked about getting put out of school. Well, we almost got put out of Horace Mann. Dr. Christoph was the principal then, and it was because we started a private club. And Ernie was a part of that club. And you can't have private clubs in a public high school. But there were, we call ourselves the Jasmine and the Jazzettes. There were 14 of us. And we wouldn't allow anyone else to get in. It was because of the boys having their love of music and the girls wanting to be where they were. And that's how the club got started. So when I think about today and how we talk about, all of the horrible things that are going on, you know, each generation has its own limits, and there's always someone who's going to try to go over those limits. So I want to thank you all for bringing up all of the memories, and let's have more of these.
Okay, so real quick before I take questions from the in-person audience, I want to say, or I want to read Janice Kearney's comment. She's on Zoom, and it says, "This is part of our communities that the world seldom hears about. We were only able to survive, then thrive, in spite of, because of those villages that believed that all children are our children. Thank you for sharing this with all of us." And then somebody else asks, and this was when y'all were talking about communities and the Black, Blind, Deaf School and being so close to it. They said, the community you all grew up with seems really tight. How would you compare those communities in Little Rock today? Who wants to take that? Yeah.
They are not similar, really. I live in the neighborhood. I might know 15% of the people that I live around. I mean, really know them. During that time, we really knew each other.
That's right.
Couldn't wait for Halloween. Man, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
During Halloween, because we built all of these houses and everything. So it's a lot different now. But I think what Lottie said is true. There are a lot more distractions now also. A lot.
There's also a lot of fear. We're afraid of each other. We're afraid to look at each other. We're afraid to talk to each other. And we're afraid to allow ourselves to be with other people who are not like us. So that fear, I think, keeps us from being the people that we can be.
I think the lack of communications as a parent, we don't seem to engage not only our neighbors, but the community as a whole. Just fragmented, if you will, for different reasons, of course. But that's, I think, is one of the main issues we have, lack of communication.
Yes, there's really no comparison at all, the way things are down to the way things were when we grew up in the village. Everybody knew everybody. When you say village raised us, the West End village raised us. If I did something that I shouldn't have done, walking from my house to school, my mother kind of knew what I had done before I got back home that afternoon. And yeah, I would be punished for it. So it's just nothing. There's no comparison. I just want to say, excuse me, I got a cough drop in my mouth, but I just want to say the beauty of it was public schools. Public schools played a big part in our community in terms, not only education, but socialization. We had people from all walks of life going to school. And that's what happened with my children when they finally went to high school and schools. But, you know, we lived in communities where people cared about each other. And that's what I like about going to Horace Mann. It was a public school where you had all different people. And then when my children finally went to high school, they went to Central High School. And then there was another process of socialization that gradually, as a result of our society becoming more diverse and accepting of others, they had a different experience than I did. And so they taught me a lot. But as far as what we have today, it's a lot different, and it's intentional. It's almost as if they don't want us to get along anymore. But it's very sad that we don't have the same community in our own neighborhoods.
Okay, we'll take some questions from the audience. So you have children who went to Central.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
She don't like them.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell any of y'all that I went to high school. I'm not telling you at all that I went to high school.
You went to Central.
I want to go to lunch.
I had no problem with them going. I mean, that's where they had to go. And so I finally stepped in those doors and almost passed out.
Okay, questions in the audience, from the audience.
I wondered, we always hear about Hall and Central playing football during the lost year, even though they didn't have a student body. But didn't Horace Mann also play?
Yes.
Sports will go on, right? Sports will go on no matter what.
Not only did the teams play, but during that year, teachers were mandated to be at that empty school building each and every day. There just weren't any students there, but all the teachers were still there. At the wherever their location was during that 58-59 school year.
I want to thank you all, and you didn't tell us about your experience, and didn't you say that you graduated from Mann?
I did not graduate from Horace Mann. I was an 8th and 9th grade student at Horace Mann.
Okay.
And yes, I got in trouble with Mr. All-Time. But that's just me.
She's a Parkview patriot.
I'm a Parkview
I
patriot.
get some too, we'll have to talk.
All right.
I was gonna say, this was so,
My kids
I don't think I can talk. This was so wonderful. Jerry and I went to Hall, and Grisetta Thompson, although I didn't know it at the time, was a good friend of mine. I had no idea what she went through. And then I heard her sister talk, Pinky, in a panel discussion, and she told more. And I'm sorry, it was awful. But I just wanted to thank you because I can relate and identify with so many of the things that you all said. even though we were from essentially separate, the worlds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just,
Oh, sorry.
I just wanna, say that, you know, it's rare when someone loves their job and is an expert at it. And I wanna say that about Rhonda Stewart. And I'm up there every time I can when I'm not working. She has opened my eyes to so many things. I wanna encourage everyone to visit her on the second floor of the Butler Center. She's just an amazing person. And also, you taught me something today, and next time somebody asks me to give a program, I want to find a lot of people to talk around me so I won't have to talk.
Thank you, Jim. I paid him to say that.
That does make it easier. Any other questions? Well, I know we're over time, but I felt like it was important to hear from everybody. Yes, it was great. Okay, now let me put up my closing comments. Everybody give them a round of applause one more time. So I would be remiss if we did not, I'm doing this for Rhonda and myself, Melrita Russ Bonner, who is in the back. We contacted her first and said, we want to put together a panel. And then she roped y'all all into it, and she's not on the bill. But she's in the back, and I was going to call her out anyway. Thank you, Melrita, for all you do for us.
And there's Sybil in the audience
And
too.
yes, Sybil Jordan Hampton is here as well.
And she's a great speaker, because she's a Central High School graduate.
But we can also.
I know, I thought, I'm not gonna be able to take the mic back. So before we leave, a couple of quick announcements. This Friday is second Friday art night. I always, these weeks that move around. So this Friday is second Friday art night. We're gonna be at the Rocket Lab, which is the former Cox building, which is the triangular building over that way. So come and join us, bring a friend, bring a date, make a night of music, art, and mingling. And some of our two-fan activities are underwritten by the Wingate Foundation, so we always like to thank them. Next month, we are going to have Nathan Marvin, who is a professor at UALR, correct, Marta? Okay. Talk about Creole, Arkansas, revisiting our region's French connections. And so that will be Wednesday, March 6th at noon, back here. If you attend in person, you get a free cookie. If you attend virtually, you do not get a free cookie. So there's benefit. So if everybody will follow Colin now, you can go across the street and see our new exhibit, courtesy of the collectors. And thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.